market. Let's turn our attention back home. And yes, it was a bad day on the Lal Street as well. One sector, though, was doing pretty decently, which was the hospitality pack, hotels, stocks, and not without reason. If you look a little below the surface, you will see that things are beginning to pick up. The announcement over the weekend that the Civil Aviation Ministry is allowing airlines to book up to 85% of capacity also did help. The restrictions on how much airlines can charge, their fare cap limits have also been eased. It's down to 15 days at a time as opposed to 30 days earlier. And then the news has come in that the government may start issuing visas to tourists coming into India. Now, if that does happen, and it's likely it will happen sometime soon, definitely before the rush period towards the last few months of the year, that will be a huge thumbs up for this industry. How much will it matter? To speak on this, let me go across now to Rajesh Magow, Group CEO, MakeMyTrip. Devendra Parulekar, founder of SaffronStays, with us on the show this evening, as is Ajay Awtaney, founder of livefromalounge.com. Gentlemen, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Rajesh, let me start by getting your take. And let's begin by talking about this news, which news agencies have actually reported that the government is mulling opening up tourist visas. The first several will be free. That's an announcement which was previously made. But the timing of it is very crucial, isn't it? If tourists can be allowed to come into the country around this peak period of October, November, December, that will make a huge difference.
Yes, thanks, Amanda. Thanks for having me. Yes, I think you're right in your observation. It's little tricky right now, but guess what? We've been, the whole industry has been into this situation, just sort of waiting for this to open up for a while now. And given the overall COVID situation, if you see in the country, for the last now several months, it's largely under control, just concentrated on one or two states, as we know. I think this was probably an opportunity that everyone seems to be seeing more on the authority side, as well as industry forums have also been sort of pitching and saying, maybe there's an opportunity to sort of gradually open it up now because of the overall situation. So I think it's a welcome move from an industry standpoint. Clearly, there's no question about that. But yes, I guess the responsibility also lies on, and not necessarily on all the individuals, but also every sort of industry player as well. Which I think, if you really go back in history, everyone has been very, very careful and seriously sort of investing behind in terms of just making sure that we had the processes and all the safety protocols were in place that were sort of maintained. So I think if we all come together in terms of just making sure that we create awareness and we not necessarily have people lowering the guard, during this festive time, which is what possibly happened in the past post wave one as well. And maybe there's greater amount of awareness today, and that should hopefully help. But from, just from an industry opening standpoint, I think it's, we've all sort of been pitching for this, not necessarily, sort of inbound tourists coming to India, and maybe just, also looking at doubly vaccinated people. There are quite a few now. The momentum has really picked up. There's a sizable population that has been vaccinated already, sort of also opening up. And there has been some discussion around that in the, with the Ministry of Civil Aviation and the other forums as well. So we're hoping that, the window of opportunity that is there,
right,
it opens up. It'll be great for the industry.
No, absolutely. Meanwhile, what is happening despite, inbound tourists not being allowed to come in yet? Devendra Parulekar, the thought was, after the first wave at least, and when, people didn't know that the second wave would hit so hard, the thought was that even as foreign travel had been ruled out and inbound tourists couldn't come in, this would give an impetus to domestic tourism as well, to long stays, to different formats of tourism. And some of that has happened. Has that trend sustained?
Yes. So, just after the first lockdown started opening up, you started noticing long stays coming into the picture. All our homes at Saffron Stays, we wired up with Wi-Fi. We pulled up fiber cables. We enabled our homes for even e-learning for children to attend their schools. And we saw a lot of people, customers who are wanting to book our villas, private homes, private vacation homes for extended periods. But soon that trend started taking a backseat, and today, it's the mainstream family audiences and the friends, groups of friends who have now started booking our homes. And even post lockdown too, I think a very similar trend emerged. Initially, long stays were being booked by the customers, and then soon after were replaced by the normal regular bookings. The only thing that we have done differently this time is that we have ensured that the minimum number of nights is no longer just one; it's actually now two or three, and that just ensures that the right kind of people, the right kind of clientele comes through, and stays in these homes. So yes, overall a very positive sentiment. In fact, I must tell you that people are so gung-ho about private homes and vacation homes that we've started looking out our New Year Eve's bookings also as we speak. So that's a very refreshing trend. Usually, you don't see bookings happen so early. You see bookings start for New Year's at around in the somewhere
Yeah.
October end, but it's now not even middle of September, and you're starting to see New Year's Eve, being sold off. That clearly shows that we are in for a phenomenal season coming our way.
Wow, that's great news. Ajay, are you seeing signs of that, and have the blues of business travel disappearing been replaced by a robust domestic travel segment, or are there hopes still pitched on business travel returning to some extent? And we're seeing that with airline capacities, isn't it? Almost doubled in the last 3 months.
Yeah, hi. See, there are a couple of things that I'm noticing out there. I've been traveling a fair bit across the country over the past 6 weeks or so. Yes, the VFR travel is basically replacing the business travel trend at this point of time. So there are a lot of people traveling to meet friends and family in the aviation segment. And then obviously there are a lot of people who are just eager to get out of their homes. So that's where I corroborate what Devendra is saying about the fact that people want to get out of their home, and obviously he's seeing stays at private homes. But I incidentally was in a hotel last week, and the most full I saw the hotel was this was a prime Mumbai hotel, and the staycation traffic there was crazy over the weekend as compared to what I saw for the rest of the week when I was there. So yes, and I guess opening up of the international segment, the tourist segment, should definitely add to the international crowds coming back.
So what has also changed over the last, I think, month or so is more and more destinations are allowing Indians to travel there. Rajesh, give me a sense. Are people traveling out of the country as well? Has domestic tourism really picked up? Are you seeing the kind of optimism we're seeing on this panel, where New Year's plans are also beginning to get booked out? Is that reflecting?
Yes, most definitely. And let me just give you a little bit more color on it. See, the overall, there's no doubt that right now the overall travel activity is led by domestic travel. There's no absolutely no doubt about that. And within that, it is a pent-up demand that we've all seen. Exactly the way it happened post wave one recovery as well, and even maybe even more sort of accelerated from a consumer sentiment standpoint now by the leisure segment. And yeah, now, as Devendra was pointing out, it's also advanced bookings happening and so on and so forth. In terms of international travel, I think it's still a very humble beginning. The couple of destinations that have picked up quite a bit already, right after sort of them announcing some lifting of the constraints, is Dubai and Maldives. Maldives was also very popular post wave one, and on our platform we would have seen some 150% sort of recovery rate for just Maldives bookings, if you will. While the overall international destinations, are absolutely not necessarily hassle-free, restriction-free right now. Even for Dubai, Today, the traveler has to go through as many as 5 tests, just so for them to be able to travel. But, some of the enthusiasts are definitely traveling, and some of the enthusiasts are booking in advance with the hope that, all these restrictions should hopefully get, eased out over a period of time as well. And there are many other countries like in Europe have definitely opened up with less restrictions now. And some of them are actually, definitely recognizing Covishield as the vaccination for doubly vaccinated people, and having, relatively speaking, less restrictions. However, like, you would have seen UK announcement, which became a massive controversy already yesterday, where, many countries are allowed, tourists from many countries are allowed doubly vaccinated, but, India is not on that list, despite being on Covishield, which is an AstraZeneca.
I was going to ask you about that. Rajesh, I was going to ask you about that, and I think we will take a comment on that as well on this show, because it's just clearly discriminatory. It's the same vaccine. It's the
Yes.
same vaccine that we're using over here, and just some countries are being singled out. And do you think that kind of a trend is also worrying for global tourism on the whole?
You know what? I mean, it's obviously concerning. There's no question about it. But, it's a mixed bag. Some of the countries have actually, same vaccine has been accepted as well. Like I was just trying to say. But, this was a bit of a surprise announcement that came from UK. And, and you can see already, a lot of the sort of pushback or reaction coming back from the industry and everybody else in India. I'm not sure. I've not been able to actually understand the reason only, or the rationale behind it, because there are many other countries that have already accepted. I could have still sort of expected maybe Covaxin was not covered, but Covishield, which is an internationally recognized vaccine, has been recognized by WHO, from every aspect. And now it's been a while that millions and millions of people have been vaccinated on that, and many global countries have already accepted. So I really have no reason to explain why we've been excluded, but I'm only hoping that it is there will be some discussions or diplomatic discussions that would take place, and then we would be back in that list of which is a green list where it will be accepted. But having said that, till then we will have to just live with it. But the good news also is that there are many other countries that are accepting. So it's a bit of a mixed bag right now.
Yeah. No, of course. But, just a comment from you as well, Ajay, on what the United Kingdom's policy is. And it's not just India, it's several countries whose vaccinated people they're not accepting as vaccinated, even though some of the vaccines are pretty much the same. This kind of vaccine discrimination is going to be a real sticking point going ahead if we look at how global tourism has to revive, isn't it?
No, I totally agree with you there. What's happened is I think the UK worked backwards from saying, hey, these are the countries we want people to come in from. And then they work backwards to create some reason to, treat everyone else as unvaccinated. But, what's very funny about this situation is the fact that till India started getting a shortfall, many UK citizens might have been vaccinated by the same vaccines that may have been created in Mr. Poonawala's factories in Pune. So very amusing decision there. But I can totally expect that this pushback should, I hope this pushback is going to, now get them to rethink this decision. In fact, as we're speaking, just before I was coming on the show, I think there's an announcement that the US is opening up to vaccinated citizens from India from November onwards. So I think that should be a little bit of a awakening from the sleep for the UK, who kind of created these policies, which are very, very selective pickings, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Devendra, coming back to what's happening at home, because the focus also is on how domestic tourism is the driving force, and you've talked about how bookings have been great. So are prices also inching up for these bookings?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I want to use the word that you use, driving force, because that's a very interesting trend that I'm noticing. That most of the destinations that are really doing well on Saffron Stays are the drivable destinations. And I picked that word driving, and I just thought I'll, spend a little time on that. Having said that, the customer who's probably not getting an opportunity to travel outside the country is yet looking for luxury experiences, yet looking for 5-star, 7-star experiences, and are not willing to go into a public space. So, the perfect reason for going to a vacation home. And that has caused a definite positive sentiment, which is reflecting in our ARR. So clearly, I noticed that even with respect to last year, I would clearly have a 15 to 20% jump in my rates. December to December, if I compare as that being my super season, you would definitely see an uptake in the rates. Occupancies are very good. Weekend occupancies have traditionally been very good, but even now weekday occupancies are good because of we have having wired up all the homes, and most corporates today are totally all right and comfortable allowing their executives to work from home, and that has ensured that even weekday occupancies are good. So my sense is that this is going to continue to remain. Rates are going to be firm for a while. But most importantly, I feel that this is going to be a habit that's going to get created. So the culture of work from home, the culture of some of these liberating work practices would continue, and audiences and guests who have actually been never exposed to this kind of backyard of our own country, where they're probably staying in a Lake Pavna residence, which is probably as good, if not better, than Lake Geneva. They'll probably get hooked onto some of these destinations, and will find value in just simply taking out their car and
Yeah.
driving out to destinations with their friends. So no need to fly out. You just go a couple of hours driving from Mumbai, and or take the harbor, get
Yeah.
across the harbor, and go to Alibag.
Yeah, yeah, the driving force, as Devendra put it. Rajesh, are you seeing, two basic trends that we've talked about today? One, that the staycations or the private villa scene is seeing more people coming in rather than the traditional hotel setup. Are you seeing that persisting? And your comments on rates firming up. For anyone planning a holiday and watching this right now, Devendra has made them sweat, saying they might have to pay up to 20% more compared to last year. Is that the case that you're seeing as well, Rajesh?
Yeah. So, let's talk about the alternative accommodations or the homestays that Devent spoke about. Clearly, that's an emerging trend. And then, the underneath reason for that from a consumer standpoint was also, besides the fact, it is nearby destination and a drivable distance, etc., was also the fact that initially, early days, at least, people were looking for maybe secluded places, maybe private places, not necessarily as crowded places. So clearly, it's an emerging trend. In fact, we've been focusing and investing on this particular segment for a while as well, and we've seen growth happening, phenomenal growth happening already in this segment. So that's clearly going to be the emerging trend, and even going forward. And Devin spoke about the habit changing thing, that it might happen that with a hybrid sort of working environment potentially, people might also be very willing to actually go out and do not only the staycation, but maybe the workation. So even if I end up taking, let's say, a week long, I won't really wait for either the long weekends if I'm not necessarily going only for leisure, but I might actually also go for, a week long, not wait for a holiday break or a long weekend, just stay there, operate from there about 6-7 hours a day, and then just to maybe have a relaxed time after that, and then I've got the weekend for me, for leisure. And that sort of trend is likely to continue as well. We've seen some other segments, like the bachelors would get together, the techies would get together, and then 5 or 6 of them will check into a particular villa and then operate from there for a long time, given that largely, technology workforce is still operating from home. So some of these trends are definitely likely to continue. But having said that, I don't think this means that, by the way, that the hotel is not getting crowded as well. So, the premium segment just to give you a sense on our platform, again, is one segment. Not necessarily all the segments are like beyond 100% recovery and all. I mean, there's still a, some way to go to get to a pre-pandemic levels. But premium segment is booming. Like, nearby destinations, all the 5 stars, 4 or 5-star properties, especially over the weekend because of the leisure pent-up demand, is absolutely chock-a-block. Because again, there also the consumers feel comfortable that, there will be safety protocols. There is, the staff is fully trained, the staff is vaccinated, and so on and so forth. So I think that, some of this is just a very immediate sort of function of, on your mind coming out of the second wave, which was pretty intense and lethal, and everybody sort of suffered directly or indirectly, being extra careful in choosing the location. Now, coming to your point, second question on the pricing. See, early on, when the recovery was slow and gradual, the focus was to fill up the rooms, right? The focus was to get to some sort of occupancy level or load factors for the flights. And therefore, the prices were lower because the focus was to just get more and more demand coming in your way, because it was not necessarily only we were just trying to, everybody was trying to pick up the latent demand. As it recovers more and get into a season, and if we have a good, fingers crossed, on the third wave or whatever, if we get into a season and we have a good season, prices are likely to firm up a little bit. But, again, I'm saying, if you look at pan-India, India is a large country, where there will be pockets where you will be, there will be, more crowd and more demand and shortage of inventory. But there are many other places where mean that there is no shortage of supply as well. So if you look at it just from a holistic India full country standpoint, I think we would still have, sort of many options available for consumers to look at, which are very feasible, very viable from price perspective as well.
So maybe this is an opportunity to look beyond the well-treaded path and the most, well-known, common, popular destinations, to look at something more unknown and discover something new. Well, thank you to all of you for joining us on that conversation as we track the travel industry's hopes for a recovery in what is a very important period for this sector, the next 3 months, definitely. Thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Charanjit Singh Channi.